So I saw this article from techforgamers.com, and I know it's a little bit of an older article. It's about a month and a half old and whatnot, but it's the first time that I'm seeing it, and I feel like it's very interesting to cover this because a lot of people talk about DEI, right, and ESG and all that stuff, and the typical words that we like to throw around, but nobody actually really deep dives into it and really figure out what gamers actually want aside from what we're voting for with our wallet. And I think this article and the headline from it was very enticing that made me want to go through it and read it with you guys, where it says over 95% of players don't consider inclusivity important in gaming. And I would argue that that is pretty damn accurate, considering the amount of backlash we see anytime obvious DEI nonsense is happening in video games that we are playing currently at this point in time.
To level with you all, the reason why we're having this meeting is because our numbers are in the toilet. So, obviously, it's time for us to have a very serious conversation about diversity.
Hear, hear, her.
So,
Now, again, ladies and gentlemen, nobody gives a crap about actual inclusivity or diversity in video games because that's naturally existed for decades. A lot of these tourists don't understand that they have this idea, right? And this was disproven by Laura Freibert's video. If you guys remember on Hypnocast, I reacted to one of her videos. And in her videos, she showcases very old clips of herself back when she was working on Gears of War, the first Gears of War. And if you look at the table of people who are working on that game decades ago, you'll realize that it was extremely diverse. And it's not even just those studios either. Multitude of studios. If you look back at older clips and videos of people in the industry back then, you'll realize there was black people, there was white people, there was women, there was Asians, there was Indians, there was all kinds of people. Diversity has been around in gaming for decades. The only difference is now they realize that they can weaponize the idea of a lack of diversity, claim that it exists, and then sell you the solution. That's what these consultancy groups do. That's what the games journalists do who are in bed with the consultancy groups. So let's get into this article, guys, for Tech for Gamers. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and like the video to push us out into that YouTube algorithm. That's really what it is, man. You know, they sit here, they try to weaponize DEI to try to use it to their advantage so they can get paid for it. That's really what it is. So anyway, it says forced inclusivity is the enemy of creativity. A recent poll indicates that over 95% of players don't care about inclusivity in games. Forced inclusivity into video games has been a known culprit, leading them to failure. DE&I has become an unfortunate trend that has gradually been gaining more pace. Inclusivity is an unfortunate trend that has picked up in the industry over the past few years. While having characters of different origins isn't anything bad, forcing a narrative is. Most fans share the opinion, as 95% of gamers voted they don't care about inclusivity in gaming in a recent poll. And I gotta be honest with you, man. You guys know we have a bunch of people who are extremely diverse on our panel show, Saturday Night Hypnosis, every Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have a very diverse panel, and it just happened naturally that way. That's just what it is. I myself am not white, so take that for what it's worth. But you have these people out here, the whitest of the white people, and they'll try to be like, yeah, this is not diverse enough. We need X, Y, Z. And if we don't get that, then you're a bigot. And it's always the people who truly don't give a shit about any of that. They simply just want to weaponize it, whether it's for monetary gain, which is what the consultants do, or whether it's for political gain, or whether it's just for overall gain over the narrative. They are so desperate to weaponize it and try to pretend as if all these other studios before us that made these games that we all love in the past were all just made by white people, like white men, right? That's really what it is. 99% of it was white men, but that's not true. When you look back at the videos and you look back at the clips and you look back at the content that was available back then, and it was a long time ago, you'll realize that is not true in the slightest. The industry was naturally diverse, and they don't like it like that. They don't like natural diversity, because what natural diversity means that people are going to get their jobs based off the merit of their ability to do their job. And they don't want that. They want to be able to force themselves into these positions that they're not ready for. And the only way to do it is by guilt tripping people into letting them into it. That's really what it is. So why does it matter? Inclusivity has emerged as a proven culprit that ruins an entire game. We have had some clear examples in the last few years, including Concord, Suicide Squad, and more. And the backlash from the fans was quite apparent. A different poll on Twitter showed similar results. With nearly 10,000 votes, a whopping 97% of social media users voted against the importance of inclusivity. Now, inclusivity isn't a bad thing at all. In fact, it's always good to see characters from different origins, genders, and races in a game. But what's offsetting is the forced inclusivity narrative that pushes political agendas into gaming. Now, 97%, again, guys, if you were to talk to anybody who is actually, supposedly diverse anyway, most of them are not going to care about this stuff. The only ones that are diverse, they care about this stuff, are the ones that directly benefit from it, right? So consultancy groups, like I said, journalists, right? The mainstream gaming establishment, they are the ones that benefit from it, so they pretend like they care about it. But I've said it so many times that none of these people do this stuff in real life, right? And none of them actually practice what they preach in real life. I would guarantee you all these white liberals that are out here trying to pretend like, oh my God, black people need a voice, blah. Look at their neighborhoods. I would guarantee you there is not a single black person in sight, for the most part, where they live, right? I would guarantee you they probably didn't even grow up around many black people where they live, which is why when they made the discovery that black people exist, they were like, oh my God, there's so many black people. Oh my God, I have to give them a voice. Without me, they're never gonna have a voice. I have to give them a voice. Let's pass the microphone to the black people. It's like so insane, bro. Like, are you kidding me right now? You guys clearly don't know what it was like in the industry, not even just 15 years ago. You have no idea. And then you're trying to sit here and pretend as if it was all just white dudes. No, you want that to be true so that your little narrative that you sell as your pitch to get hired as a consultant goes through. That's really what you want. Anyway, now inclusivity isn't a bad thing, again. And for context, Suicide Squad Killed the Justice League introduced Mrs. Freeze in its last season. The character has a huge history in comics, movies, and TV shows, and has always been Victor Fries or Mr. Freeze. The idea of changing that attracted a lot of criticism. Well, the Mrs. Freeze thing, a lot of people didn't like it because it was basically Rosie O'Donnell is Mrs. Freeze. Did you guys see the fucking model? It was Rosie O'Donnell as Mrs. Freeze, trans Mrs. Freeze. Nobody liked that Mrs. Freeze. That was the ugliest, most stupid Mrs. Freeze we've ever seen in our life, and that's why people were roasting it. That's why. Who cares if Mrs. Freeze has any canonical, factor in the DC comics? Nobody gives a fuck when the character looks like Rosie O'Donnell. So stop doing that shit. Then it says that forced inclusivity was never a problem a few years ago. Ever since consultation companies like SPI emerged, this unfortunate trend has been forced into the industry, ruining many great games. SPI has a bunch of notable names working with it, including Santa Monica, Xbox Game Studios, Warner Brothers, Ubisoft, and more, which, by the way, it's all gone from their website. So you wouldn't know that, obviously, unless you have the Wayback Machine to look at what their website was, not even just a year ago. But they deleted everything from their website, and it makes you wonder, why is that? The influence is quite visible in their recent titles as well. Square Enix should be appreciated for being pulled out of the list. Well, I mean, I think that it wasn't, I don't think Square Enix fired them. I don't think Square Enix got pulled out of the list. I think Square Enix was one of the first of all the companies to say, hey, take me off your list. You know what I mean? They're gonna keep them employed, but take me off your list because you are bringing bad press to us right now, and we can't afford to have that. I think that's what it was. And then Square Enix got taken off, and then eventually that started a domino effect where all the studios got taken off. And now you have SPI's new website where no studios are listed. So aside from a couple of games that they worked on, no studios are listed at all in their current partners. You don't know who their partners is. And then they try to tell you, oh, don't worry, we're not trying to do anything malicious. Yeah, aside from fucking hiding who you're working with, makes you wonder why that is. And then one of SPI's employees even admitted that the company's goal is to burn the industry to the ground, indicating a massive threat to the gaming industry. Nonetheless, this trend needs to stop. Otherwise, we'll see a lot more big budget games fail poorly. So again, guys, 97%, a poll from Stuttering Craig that had an insane amount of votes, 10,000 votes. I'm pretty sure it had more as time went on, but 10,000 votes, 97% of people said they don't care about inclusivity in gaming. And I guarantee you, of that 97%, the journalists will try to convince you that 96% of them was white people, when the truth of the matter is it was probably way more diverse of a poll than any of these studies, these supposed studies that these people do on a weekly basis. They don't actually know what diversity really is because they're too busy giving you a superficial version of what diversity is. They don't actually know. So they come out here and they say, yeah, let's be diverse. We need to, raise the voices of XYZ person at the cost of other people. That's not how this works, man. Just do your job based off your merit and see if you can survive based off that. And if you can't, then you weren't the right person for the job. And it doesn't matter how black you are. It doesn't matter how Spanish you are. It doesn't matter any of that shit. If you're not the right person for the job, then get out. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you did enjoy it. If you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.